Well, thank you, Mr. President, and let me just start off by welcoming Jamika Davis back. Many of you know that Jamika had surgery, and we're just so glad and blessed that the Lord sent her back our way, and she's on the mend. So welcome back, Jamika. I can't tell you how thrilled I am that Cheryl Jackson made herself available to be with us today. I actually met Cheryl on an airplane coming back from Springfield. I was in the State House at the time, and we actually just had a conversation about what she was doing, what I was doing, and from that day to this, I've been a Cheryl Jackson fan. Her career has been marked by many firsts, spanning healthcare, international business, civil rights, politics, government, not-for-profit, and the media. She became the CEO of MyOwnDoctor and Black Telehealth, a tech healthcare company committed to helping people claim their right to good health through culturally competent care, content, and community. For nearly 10 years now, since 2019, she served as the Senior Vice President of Global Business Development and President of AAR Africa, a global aviation services company. Prior to AAR, Cheryl was a candidate for President Obama's once vacant U.S. Senate seat in 2010 and was the first female president and CEO of the Chicago Urban League. She also served as a communications director for the governor of Illinois, and her professional experience also includes senior level positions at Amtrak and NPR. In 2018, Cheryl found Grit and Grace, the movement, a women's empowerment, coaching, and media company. In her intimate TEDx Talk, Grit and Grace, Cheryl validates the career trajectories of go-getters like herself, but it also implores women to self-advocate and practice grace, love, in action towards self as a sustainable model of success. The overwhelming response led Cheryl to consider many ways to serve women on a broader scale with Grit and Grace, the movement, which provides access to Grit and Grace coaching, G2 Coach, conferences, events, and content to inspire and empower women. Cheryl has a BA from Northwestern University, and she resides in Chicago, Illinois. And so to present to many of you and my friend and somebody I have grown to love and admire on so many levels, Cheryl Jackson. Cheryl?
Hi, Karen Clerk. Thank you so much.
It's always Karen. It's always Karen. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been fan crushing on you since day one. Your leadership is just amazing, ethical, empathetic, compassionate. We need more of your leadership in Washington and every place in our country. So thank you for all that, for your friendship and for your leadership. And I'm excited to be here today. So, we could do this a couple of ways. Do we want to just have me talk or?
I think that, yes, I would love for you to talk and talk about who is Cheryl Jackson? We see you, and we hear about different things that you've been engaged and involved in, and I certainly went through a litany of things, but who is Cheryl Jackson, and what is she really trying to do and to project to women out here who see you?
That's a great question. I wanted to honor the format, but I have a lot to say, so that's not a problem. most of you have heard my background, and it's really diverse. And I didn't set out to have a super duper diverse background. What the bio didn't say is that I began my career as a graphic designer and art director. So I am queen of the pivots. I can pivot like nobody's business. But I was what I want with my TEDx talk, and I think that's probably a great way to talk about who I am, particularly who I was then, who I am now. The TEDx talk, Grit and Grace, was born out of my life crisis of breast cancer and divorce at the same time, going through both at the same time. And, there's some experiences, and unfortunately, most of us have them, that just bring you to your knees. They're your dark night of the soul. And I really prided myself, my career, on being able to fight through, persevere, and fight through any situation, come back from being knocked down, the bounce back kid, like a rubber band. I prided myself on that. And as a Black woman, being a woman and being Black, that double minority, I have seen and been up against a lot of challenges and barriers where I was unwelcomed as a woman and as an African American. Made it very, very difficult. So I sharpened my fighting bone. So I knew how to really be resilient and to bounce back. But then there's some things in life that come your way that level you, and your fight can't really bring you back. So there I was, first diagnosed with breast cancer. So my resilient, bounce backable fight kicked in, and I took charge. It's like I'm the CEO of my care team, and I'm going to beat this. I had a radical left mastectomy. So I was fighting my way back from that, feeling really determined, resilient. In the middle of that, my marriage just imploded on one dramatic, manic day. And the day after a big surgery. So my life just fully fell apart. And so there I was, going through those two things, in a lot of pain, physical pain, emotional pain, and spiritual pain. I think it's fair to say that I was fairly broken. So here, the fighter in me, that I prided myself on, could not save me. I couldn't fight my way back. I don't know who all had a chance to watch the Prince Harry and Meghan interview with Oprah. Right. If you have, let me know if you watched that, so I know I'm not alone in this situation. So I watched that, and I saw Meghan, talk about not being certain that she wanted to live anymore. The pressure and the toxicity and your trials and your storms get you so much. You're so strong, but then you have these dark nights of the soul, dark moments that just really bring you to your knees. And so there I was, could not rely on my fight. My grit could not save me. It was in that 3-4 year period. It wasn't an overnight situation. It wasn't 18 months. It was several years. I was traveling for my job, the aviation company I worked for. I was traveling to Africa. Actually, I was pretty much kind of living in Africa half the time, between here and Chicago. And so just really struggling personally, but still working. And I have this epiphany that in a, tell this real quick story. I was in South Africa. I was opposite time zone. I was really struggling emotionally, mentally. And so I was up all night and distraught. I was just crying, just distraught. And their night was still, my body clock never adjusted. I was an insomniac at this point. And I was just waiting for the clock to hit 7 so that the restaurant would open, things would open. I could go outside of my hotel room. Clock hit 7. I'd go outside my hotel room. I'd go down to have breakfast. And then I saw a jewelry store in the lobby of this hotel. So I went into the jewelry store. So, I did some retail therapy, okay? And this jewelry store, we're going to do that, ladies, right? I go to this jewelry store and I'm like, looking at things, buying things, and I walk out and I bought some jewelry, and they were I remember when I walked in, they sort of looked at me oddly, and I just like, oh, it's because I have an American accent, and I look American, even though I'm in South Africa, I'm so tall. So South Africans are not as tall as I am. So I just thought it was that. So as I'm leaving with my packages, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I had mascara, tear-stained mascara tears coming down my face, just stained. My face is stained from the mascara and the tears. And I was just like, no one told me, not a little bit, a lot, okay? No one told me. And, I knew then that I was really quite broken. And I boarded the plane. I had this epiphany about just kind of wondering, why couldn't I get myself together? And I had this epiphany about grit. Grit was a thing that won't let you let go, but grace makes it okay. Grit won't let you give up, and grace makes it okay to let go, and that you need both in life. And I had been focused on grit. I was a 110% grit, the thing that won't let you give up, fighting through every wall. But, and grace is the thing that makes it okay to let go. And the truth is that you need both. So my grit failed me, but grace saved me. And I learned how to offer myself grace, be compassionate with myself. It's okay to hop off the pace, the rat race, and be reflective and take care of yourself. So I came out of that experience really, transformed by that experience and that moment and that epiphany. So when I got a chance someone asked me to give a TEDx talk, invited me to give a TEDx talk, I knew what I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to be honest and talk about my experience as a hard-charging, ambitious woman that, quite frankly, because of my kind of double outsider status of being Black and a woman, I felt the pressure to really show up and work 3 times as hard. I had 2 times as much to prove. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, as most women do, particularly women of color, operating in these environments that are where you are a double outsider. So I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I did not know how to offer myself grace. My therapist would ask me, and yes, I did see a therapist during this time, and she used to say to me, be good to you. And I would, nod, okay, cool, and she would say it over and over and over again, just casually. And then finally, I asked her one day, you keep saying it. I think you're talking more than a mani-pedi or a bubble bath, glass of wine. I mean, what do you mean by that? And I did not know how to practice grace with myself. I didn't know how to operationalize that because I'd been on this path. So I've come out of this experience wanting to help women do 2 things. One, be unapologetic about embracing your highest ambitions, to be unapologetic, and make sure you have some good friends, some good girlfriends around that will support you in your ambitions. I can say that the clerk was one of my friends that supported me. The second thing I would say to women is, while you're pursuing your ambitions, it is okay and necessary for you to offer yourself grace, to practice compassion with yourself, to practice taking a pause and taking care of yourself. Because for this main reason, the power of practicing grace is a direct correlation to your performance on your job and your career trajectory. So when you practice grace with yourself and you offer yourself grace, what you get in return is perspective. And when you have perspective, you come back to your problem with regained, refreshed, and renewed perspective. And you look at what you've been focused on, working on, or toiling in, or challenged with. And you say to yourself, with this newfound, fresh perspective, you know what? This is the right thing for me to focus on. This is the right fight. And my approach is right. I just needed some rest. And now I can double down on my fight and go further, faster. Or you come back to your problem or the challenge or whatever you're working on and with this renewed perspective, and you say, it's the right thing for me to focus on, but it was the wrong approach because you have this new refreshed perspective. Or you come back after gaining some perspective and some respite. You come back to your problem that whatever it is that you're focused on, you come back to it and you realize with this new regained and refreshed perspective that this isn't my problem. It's not my fight. This is the wrong fight for me. And that you can then shift your energies and efforts on a focus or a problem or opportunity that is right and where you can make a difference and impact. Sometimes we get so committed to a path, to a fight and to a path that we double down on it and we lose perspective. And then we're committed to this path that's leading nowhere or in the wrong direction. So when you practice grace, which is giving yourself space to sort of pull back out of that moment and check in with yourself. What does my soul need? What does my heart need? What do I need? And you check in with yourself, and then you come back with a new, regained, or fresh perspective. It improves your outcomes and your decisions and your path. So my thing is I want women to be unapologetic about pursuing their highest ambition. I want everyone, and you don't have to be a woman, but it's particularly important when you're a marginalized, in a marginalized group, because you're up against a lot more day-to-day stresses. It's so important for you to practice grace along with pursuing your ambition, because it's the way to have achieve not only success, but really realize true impact. And the success that you do achieve can be sustained. So I call myself a grace ambassador. Also call myself a master pivot coach, because as Karen read my bio, I have started out in graphic design and art, moved to the media and communications, moved to government affairs, worked in government, then moved to civil rights, running for office, then went into corporate America, worked for an aviation defense company, traveled the world for that, and then came out of that. And now as an entrepreneur, double entrepreneur, my own business, but the CEO of a company that I'm very passionate about. It's not my company, but I feel very passionate about it, particularly given what COVID has exposed and made clear. It has broken wide open the consciousness of the world and this country to the disparities that institutional racism and discrimination has produced, the disparities, health disparities in Black and Brown and vulnerable communities. And so I'm excited about the work that we're doing with Black Telehealth and MyOwnDoctor. Black Telehealth is owned by MyOwnDoctor, but to really deliver care and preventive education programs in a way that is is responsive and culturally competent and sensitive to the communities that we're looking to touch and serve. So it's a way to increase access and provide high quality care. So from people, from doctors that get you and see you. And so I'm excited about this experience, and this job is not really public yet. I guess it is now, but we haven't made the huge announcement. So the clerk is breaking news here. So we're excited about that. It's going to launch formally in about a month and a half. And MyOwnDoctor is already launched. It's been around for about 2 or 3 years, but Black Telehealth will launch in the next 2 months or so. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm going to pause so that we can take some questions. Someone said they attended the Grit and Grace virtual conference last year. It was an amazing event. That's awesome. Thank you, Takesha. I am bringing it back. It likely will be virtual, might be hybrid, but it's coming back in September. So please sign up. I don't want anyone to miss it because it's going to be north of awesome.
Oh.
So it's hot. I know, I put it out there.
Looking forward to it. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you and so excited about all the things that you've done. And you know what? Sometimes what you've shared here today is when we're at our worst moments, it's preparing us, like our when we're in our lowest valley, we're in the valley, but then comes the mountain, and you've been just up and down, the mountain and what have you, and God's not through with you yet, okay? So I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to open it up for questions, and I definitely want you to share where people can contact you because they want to plug in to, you're already plugged in, so they want to plug into you and get a little of this energy going. So it looks like our president had his hand up. You have a question, Mr. President?
Yes. I'm stuck. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm curious. Boy, what a great message today. But I'm curious how you believe your life has been changed by those who inspire you. And who is it that's inspired you in your life?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Who has inspired me? I just posted on this week in honor of International Women's Day, a post celebrating my mother. My mom, I was born in Chicago, but raised in Memphis, the South. And that's where my mother is from. So we moved back to Memphis when, actually we lived in the Lorraine Motel 2 months after, a month after Dr. King was slain. He was killed and assassinated at the Lorraine Motel. We were living there because my parents had a part of a class action lawsuit to desegregate a housing building. So we were in between places, and there weren't very many places for Black people to live and stay. So my mother was very much, her life, she saw the rise and the height of the civil rights movement. My mother is a composer of classical choral music. So she didn't get her degree in music. She got it in math and philosophy. So she has no formal training. But she wrote, she loved, found this music. It was in her heart, her soul, and she wrote, and she had no one believing in her. She was in the deep South where it was Elvis music and blues. Her church, her own community, they didn't understand that music. And the classical music world was quite unwelcoming to her as a Black woman. So she wrote in a vacuum, never heard her music performed, not once, for 35 years of writing. And then it happened. Her first big concert was at Carnegie Hall. It's a really good story how she got to Carnegie Hall. But she is an inspiration of the resilience and how you have to really go inside and within to fight through and persist when all around you is not betting on your brilliance. You have to believe and walk in your brilliance, especially when no one around you believes in it. So she's an inspiration. There's so much. Before, it was just like one or two that you could see, and every now and then you have these great women like Shirley Chisholm and amazing Carol Moseley Braun, these amazing women that Carol Simpson, I remember her, the anchor for the news anchor for ABC News National. You say it was just few and far between. But now what a blessing it is to see this plethora of women really Black women really just doing amazing things and stepping and walking in their brilliance and being seen, finally being seen and embraced and accepted. So that's, so that list is long, from a Kamala Harris, whom I met when I ran for U.S. Senate. She was running for AG of California, and we had breakfast. She was in Chicago fundraising. We had breakfast, and I knew then, I walked away from that meeting like, whoa, she is really special. And she was fully ready for her moment. And I knew it then. She was ready for that moment. She's so ready for this moment now. But Stacey Abrams, these are kind of current day inspirations. Our own homegirl, Michelle Obama. Oh my gosh. Talking about someone who was just demonized, and seeing her now rise like the Sphinx out of the ashes, the most likable person in the world, certainly woman in the world. So there's so many, Oprah, there's so many, just so many in every genre. I get to pick and choose, from the sciences, math, health and sciences, to corporate. There's another one of our own, Melody Hobson, Rosalind Brewer. There's so many women. I have to say there are a lot of women that have inspired me.
No, she's frozen. What do you do when someone's frozen?
Ask our technology committee to pray.
Am I back?
You heard me then.
She's back.
I'm back. Am I back? I heard that.
Yes.
Ask the technology committee to pray. Usually when you're frozen on Zoom, if you turn off your video and turn it back on, it helps.
Oh.
So that's a little trick I've learned.
Learned something new today.
Yeah. So, but yes, I've had many, my biggest sponsors that have been pivotal to my career have been white men, which stands to reason. I mean, they have the access to control and the opportunities and the power, but I've been very blessed to have at the right time, white men that have believed in me and saw my potential. And one coming close at NPR, National Public Radio, where I really catapulted my career, first major step there. And then at AAR, the aviation company with David Storch. So I take inspiration from many places and have received support from unexpected places. So I've been very blessed.
Okay. Next question is from Shakina Miller. Shakina, what advice would you give Black women who feel silenced and unheard within their organizations?
Ooh. Okay, look, we need another hour for that one, okay? We need another hour, Shakina, for that one. But that's why when watching Oprah's interview with Meghan, every Black woman could identify with her.
Yes.
The whole issue of being silenced. We love that. That's why people are like, oh, what a brilliant question that Oprah asked. Were you silent or silenced? And it was brilliant, but she was so quick with it because we know it. That's our life, silent or silenced. It is difficult. I teach now. I launched my coaching business, G2 Coach, which is Grit and Grace Coaching, and created this course, Career Free Agents, how to really own your own career. I think that I looked at my career and people are like, oh, you've done so many different things and how amazing is it? So I thought about my career and reverse engineered it to see how did that take place? Because it's unusual for a lot of reasons. I'm a woman, I'm Black, and I'm an art student. I got my degree in painting and drawing. So how in the world did I get to all these places? One, I took full ownership of my career. So while I was in nonprofit and corporate and government and politics, I was very entrepreneurial about my own career. I knew that recruiters were not coming for me. Okay. So I knew that there wasn't going to be a choir and of people in my jobs supporting me and pushing me forward and advancing me forward. So I had to take full ownership of that. It's important to have your voice in organizations and in companies. If you don't, it just slowly kills you and crushes your soul. So you have to really strive to have your voice. But the real question is, I've been in several sort of situations where there have been toxic environments, toxic to the very nature of who I am as a woman and as a Black person. And sometimes you can't automatically just hop out of that situation to find a new job. What I did instinctively now that I'm teaching is how to help people understand that you don't give 110% of yourself to your organization or company. You got to hold back some for you. And then you take that piece and you feed that piece of you. So you go outside of your company while working and you do the things that feed your soul, affirm your value, and remind you of your brilliance. And so that energy then you can take and bring back into your organization, just to, stiffen your spine, sit a little taller, and command the respect that you are owed. At least you're not cowing down and silencing your voice. But it's important to not have blinders on and only when you're in those kinds of environments to not have these other channels for channeling your brilliance and feeding your soul and getting affirmed. But what I've always tried to do, and as I teach, when you're a career free agent, like a LeBron is an agent, they get to pick and choose. As a career free agent, you get to choose what happens to you, where you go, and what you do. And you start from a place of authenticity, being really true to who you are, what you're passionate about, making certain that you choose places where your strengths and talents can shine. You lead and live from your strengths. And not in a situation where you're always compensating for weaknesses or your lesser talents. So you got to focus on your strengths, know what they are, lead and live from that space, and choose places that support and are aligned with your passion, your purpose, and your talents. That's the first step. But if you do find yourself in toxic environments, having multiple channels because you're a free agent, no one owns you, you're never a victim, ever a victim.
Oh, great. Let's see, LaToya Lumpkin, she's got a comment here. And she says, The inaugural Grit and Grace seminar was cathartic for me as an attendee. Glad to see Cheryl and humbled she's sharing her story and inspiration with us today. It seems like our audience, Cheryl, knows a little bit about you and a little bit about Grit and Grace, and I'm looking forward to participating in the very next one, so I can't wait myself. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Wait.
Hi, LaTanya.
Are there other questions for Cheryl?
Yes, we have Tally that's up to speak.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Cheryl, thank you so much for taking the time to be with our club. That's the first thing. Secondly, I just heard you saying that you're from Memphis, in that area down there. I spent all of my summers in that area, that region of the country, about 20 miles, 30 miles south of you, in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and in Marks, Mississippi, just a rock's throw away from Ole Miss University, which I know you're very familiar. So I was just glad to hear that that's where you're from. And then secondly, I'd like to say that advice that you just gave our member was just absolutely refreshing. And I just thank you so much for giving the advice that you gave our member and to all of our members. And then lastly, I heard you speaking about your mother and the remarkable gifts that she has had as a classical musician. And as you were mentioning that, it made me think about Miss Nina Simone and how Nina Simone was very gifted in that area and that genre of music as well. And how she had a lot of pushback and people did not think that a woman like herself had the ability to reach a national stage playing that music. So your mother and you speaking about your mother made me think about the great Nina Simone. And thank you so very much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much. And boy, does he have a voice for radio.
That's our assistant district governor, Talay Thompson, and he does have a voice for radio.
Yes, you really do. And I should know I work for NPR, so you have a voice.
Awesome. Just awesome.
Thank you so much for the comments. And I think every Black person everywhere spent their summers in the South. So in Tennessee, Mississippi, or Alabama. So awesome. I'm glad you got a chance to live some of that Southern life.
Next up.
Miss Cheryl, I have a question. Armand again. Do you have a website or Facebook page or something for everyone who wants to keep abreast of your conference coming up, Grit and Grace conference and stuff?
Absolutely. So you can go to, why don't you go to g2coach.com and just sign up there. Or my personal website is, there you go. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat. CherylJackson.com. That's CHERYLE Jackson.com. And sign up there and we will, you'll be on the list for the conference and for other things lead up to the conference, smaller events. But I'm excited about, I think Grit and Grace had such an impact on people is because in a business environment and for women who were there, whether, they worked inside of a company or they had their own business, we started the day talking about your soul, connect to your soul powerfully and listen to it and understand what it needs and have that be soul-led about your careers and your businesses, because we all come in this world with brilliance, already brilliant. The soul knows itself. The question is, will you own it? Can you tap into it? And so that was kind of a different discussion to have with business leaders. So I think that sort of explained, and to have, and honestly, I think it was the CEO of Ulta, Mary Dillon, said yes, agreed to speak, because the whole notion of offering yourself grace is a message that she felt so powerfully about that we don't do. Women who take care of so much, their families and aging parents and the community, as well as their jobs, and the pandemic has exacerbated that, that we need to learn how to practice grace with ourselves.
Okay, other questions for Cheryl? I think everybody's going to your website and everybody's coming to Grit and Grace. I think that's what's happening here. People are writing this down and they're getting this and what have you. What can we look forward to from you in the future? So I know the world's your oyster, so tell me, what can we look forward to? What are you thinking?
Well, I, just recently stepped into this role, CEO of MyOwnDoctor and Black Telehealth. And, I'm really, this role is a marriage of all of the things I care most about and my experiences. So my advocacy and civil rights, and then general advocacy and business, bringing in my marketing and PR background, bringing all of that together for the sole purpose of helping people claim their right to good health. First, to help people understand what good health looks like, what they deserve looks like, and then to help them claim it, to teach them how to self-advocate, and then to provide the services in connection to healthcare from providers that they can trust, that they know. So it was heartbreaking to watch what was happening or is happening in the pandemic, and the disparity of impact. Whether it was a combination of a lot of things. It was a combination of most workers or frontline workers are more likely to be people of color and women. And then, a general lack of access to healthcare and quality healthcare. So even when contracting COVID, not even getting to the hospital until it was very dire, was that. And then when you add the sort of existing comorbidities, serious illnesses like diabetes and heart disease, those diseases are diseases of despair. And we want to talk about, other diseases being the disease of despair, but they are too. But these are diseases of despair and discrimination. And so they're a manifestation of that. So I was reading an article in a medical journal of a physician who decided to dedicate their work and time in the South, I think was Alabama. And they were talking about, the article was about epidemic of amputations in the Black community. And that one is certainly the people want to focus on the prevention side, but when patients come into the system, there's evidence that there is a real sort of knee-jerk reaction to amputate instead of saving limbs. And they linked that, this powerful article, linked that to being analogous to lynching. So, but this epidemic of amputations, it really just stunned me, and I was dazed by this reality. So there's a lot to be done in that space. I feel a real calling.
She's frozen again.
Time for Amanda to pray again.
Amanda, let us pray.
Absolutely. There you go. God answers prayers.
God is good.
He knows before we know.
I am. Am I back?
You're back. Yes.
Sure. So I'm really dedicated to that calling to the healthcare crisis, and excited about what Black Telehealth can do But My Own Doctor owns Black Telehealth and is working on and will soon introduce a Latinx platform. So these healthcare platforms are very specific and culturally relevant to communities that it wants to serve. So I'm excited about that, and this about empowering more and more women to just walk boldly in their brilliance and to take care of themselves in the process.
If there are no other questions.
There is one,
Okay.
Clerk Yarbrough. There's Dr. Daisy.
Oh.
You may speak.
I try my best.
Okay.
Cheryl, I'd just like to say thank you so much. When you were speaking, it seemed like it was me. I mean, there were some of the things that you have gone through and still going through. And I just want to say thank you. I come from the healthcare industry. I'm from the cotton fields of Mississippi to the White House. I was from Michelle Obama, childhood obesity. And I was the one that started that program. And went with her on her trail to advocate and to say, look at my children. I'm not going to be alone because I'm not feeling that well. But thank you. You have enlightened me and given me courage. But as healthcare providers, from your background, the rug sometimes be pulled away from our nerves. And I just want to share with one thing from our own committee, our club, like Saturday, when you say you mentioned that you need good friends. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And then you need those that care about you to share, not just because you have done X, Y, and Z and had a positive effect on someone, but sometimes we need that feedback, that positive feedback coming to us. What I want to say to Susan Flanagan, Dr. Flanagan, I want to thank you for last Saturday when I was at my lowest point. The doorbell rang, and she sent me something. It may not have been big box or whatever, but it was something that really lifted me up when I had fallen to the floor. And then this morning, recognizing and celebrating National Black Women's Day, I got another call and the doorbell rang, and I got the cup of wisdom from my organization, National Black Nurses Association. You probably have, and that's why I don't know if I met you on Capitol Hill, but I've seen you somewhere.
I do know that organization, and
it says to me the bread that I was a trailblazer to get the nurses on their way from where we are now. And then it also says that a bridge builder from others to cross over from which I've come and to bring students and train and develop our own. Well, then it says that I was a pace runner. I'm paving the way for the future of healthcare and also developing others to follow in the pathway. I know you probably can't see it, but this is what it looks like. Can you put the camera on me?
no, we can't see it. I think it's a webinar. But
Yeah, it is a webinar.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
okay.
Nevertheless, I want to let you know from which you came, you ought to be praised, and nothing but God's blessing coming to you. And this is just a start and the beginning. It's not the end, but sometimes we feel that it may be the end. And I got to that level and still and trying to come through. I want to thank my club members, those that you have reached out to me and still reaching out to me. It just hit me, and I became angry. I really did. All these years that I contributed, why me? But then I hear a voice, why not you? But I'm steady going on. And some of the one thing I won't mention it that you mentioned, I too am going through the same thing. And I just want to thank you. And I would hope to tune into your conference. And I would, that we can stay together. And you certainly can bring a lot to our organization from a healthcare perspective. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your comments and sharing your stories and your transparency and your struggles. Everybody's going through something at some point. And so we have to be kind to each other.
Yes.
And I find that, you can tell when someone isn't practicing grace with themselves. They don't have much to give to anyone else. So we have to be kind to each other and be aware that someone is always going through something. So God bless you. I'll keep you in my prayers. You keep me in yours, and I'll keep you in mine.
Thank you.
And I want you to feel better real soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, clerk, we have Dr. Flanagan next, and then Mr. Gary, I see you, and then he's next.
Okay.
So, Dr. Flanagan, if you can unmute yourself. Okay, while she's doing that, let me see if Gary, can you unmute yourself? Gary? Okay, Dr. Flanagan looks like she's ready.
Okay. I really didn't have a question, but I am really enjoying this webinar. I've enjoyed everything you have been talking about, especially when you talk about grit and women in their profession. I applaud you for everything you have done for women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just am getting started. And I've launched in the middle of the pandemic, the G2 coach and this coaching business. But boy, I'm doing it and I'm sitting with women and I see the need, these corporate cultures and on these aggressions. So it's across the board, and I'm sitting with so much pain. Am I frozen again? I hope not.
No.
I got a message that my connection is unstable, but I'm sitting with so much pain, and so and the world needs all of its talent, not half of it. That's the whole point of this, is to have everybody show up and feel like they can bring their true selves to the table and contribute. I mean, that's where innovation lives, and ideas and new ideas to solve problems and create new opportunities. It lives in ideas and innovation. And you can, why only have half of that? We need all of that. The problems in this world are too big for half. So that's what I'm seeking to do. I just, they say that your purpose is in one of three places. The thing that you've always yearned to do, that you love to do, or it's when something just really have a kind of righteous indignation, anger about righting a wrong, or it's in a problem that you wished were solved for yourself, something you want to heal within yourself, that in turn can be your calling and purpose to try and heal that in others. And I think that's where my focus and work around grit and grace and empowering women and helping for themselves within companies and businesses in the world, and to self-advocate within themselves. So I feel blessed to be on this path, and I love the work that I do with women.
All right, we have Gary now.
Oh, there's Gary.
Is he muted? Gary, you're up. Okay, maybe he doesn't want to talk. He's usually very talkative.
No, Gary's shy.
Not at all. Not at all. Amanda, do you see what's wrong?
I don't know why he's not talking, but I do see that he has written 2 comments. So maybe he was going to say one of these. One of them is, did your paths cross at the Urban League with Roger Fox? And then he wrote another comment that says, I was FPR many years, close friends in political activism in the 1960s with Roger at the University of Illinois Champaign. So that's what he wrote.
That's what he wrote. Okay. I was at the Chicago Urban League from 2006 to 2009. And in September of 2009, I took a leave of absence to run for U.S. Senate. So I'm not sure. Roger Fox, it doesn't sound familiar, but I'm sure I wouldn't at all be surprised if I connected with Roger and we had a connection. Life was moving so fast back then. But those are my years. So I'm 56. So I'm putting it out there. Okay.
So we're wrapping up now. I have a burning question for you. Is it possible that we might see Cheryl Jackson on a ballot ever again? Just asking for a friend. Asking for a friend.
I tell you what, I don't know. You know, you can never say no, never rule anything out. But I know at the time being, I'm working awfully hard to get as many women elected into office. So I'm on the other side now. And I think that was my biggest takeaway after I ran for office, is that I'm just going to double down on my support for women. So maybe one day, maybe one day, but for right now, my job is to get behind you, Karen. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm always going to ask that question because it was great working with you and for you during your campaign. You had a message out there, and I think the message was heard. I just think we needed one more chance. So just putting it out there again for friend.
More friend. Got it. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm so grateful for your friendship and for your leadership and all that you do.
Well, I don't know what just happened. Okay. All right. Mr. President, that concludes my presentation. I just thank you so much, Cheryl, for sharing with us today, and get a game plan and the confidence to back it up. Why not? And here she is in all her glory. Cheryl Jackson, thank you so much on behalf of the Maywood Proviso Rotary Club. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions and your time. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Mr. President, things are in your hands.
Thank you, Karen, for inviting Cheryl. Cheryl, for being here, being an inspiration, and a conduit to the inspiration that your mother was to you. Leadership training and workshops on achieving success, they often talk about having that elevator speech ready to talk about your next move, what you stand for, what your purpose is. And we all probably should be inspired by your message today to have an elevator speech ready for that young person, that individual that's struggling to be an inspiration ourselves. Each of us should be contemplating how we can be an inspiration to other people around us. And also, as you said, acts of kindness. And Dr. Flanagan, thank you for your witness and example in reaching out to Dr. Daisy, and Dr. Daisy for being the inspiration that you've been every day. I mentioned Sarita Love's TED Talk. That is 6 p.m. This evening. And if you would respond to, I think there was a pop-up earlier for an email address, maywoodprovisorotary@gmail.com. That's maywoodprovisorotary@gmail.com. There it is. We'll be monitoring that throughout the day so that we can send you the link. And members, you will be getting the link here shortly. Armanda's going to be also, or has taken responsibility for promoting a parliamentary procedures workshop. Well, there it is. I think that being keen on the skills of parliamentary procedure is really important for your own personal success, and it's very empowering. Armanda, could you tell us a little something about what's coming?
Okay, so yes, this is going to be an awesome workshop. You're going to want to come. Miss Deborah Underwood is a professional registered parliamentarian, and she is all things about parliamentary procedures. So if you want to understand them better, if you want to understand how to run better meetings, how to make motions, how to just be more productive in your meetings and understand the rules, you'll want to attend this workshop. So again, it's next Thursday, March 18th, which is my birthday, a little plug, at 6:30 in the evening. So all is welcome. We have the meeting ID here and the passcode on the flyer, but also if you go to our Facebook page and or our Maywood Proviso Rotary webpage, you'll get the link and be able to join. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And at those pages too, we loaded up information on the Judas and the Black Messiah film and ensuing discussion for March 21st. I think you should all look there. Again, if you're intrigued about or would like to participate by going to one of our theaters, at York Theater, we have up to 2 theaters. We may add additional ones. 20 people per theater, so we're looking at social distancing and paying homage to the pandemic to be cautious and respectful of each other. But if you'd like to get more information about that, find the link. You could also email us at maywoodprovisorotary@gmail.com. And again, as Armanda said a moment ago, keep checking our website and Facebook pages as you see posted before you. Is there anyone else with an announcement today? In that case, our meeting is adjourned, and thank you everyone for being a part of the Rotary Club of Maywood Proviso's weekly meeting today. God be with you.